accelerator over a very long and extended period in regard to inflating the global economy. Each time we had a pretty big economic accident, the big interest rate lever came out and they waved that magic wand. Some stage you're going to hit that sort of tipping point, and lo and behold, when you throw together an awful lot of demand stimulus from the central banks historically, an awful lot of stimulus, what can only be described as kitchen sink style economics from both central banks and governments in response to COVID.
But just quickly, how much stock do you put in National's claim that a lot of this is being driven by government spending?
Short answer, yes, the government has contributed. The $60 billion COVID relief package poured an awful lot of money on an inflationary bonfire. Things such as lifting the minimum wage, while admirable, if you're not seeing productivity growth on the other side, it's going to add to unit labour costs, it adds to costs, it adds to that additional 50 cents you end up paying for your cup of coffee.
What is it going to take to get us out of this? What do the government got to do? What have Reserve Banks got to do?
Some pretty bold and bigger picture thinking. Now the Reserve Bank is doing the right job here in regard to, they overcooked things. Their kitchen sink style economics, they've over-egged the omelette, so now they've got to turn things down on the other side, and it's going to hurt. There's a whole lot of first home buyers that have purchased properties in the last 12 months that are going a fair bit of pain at the moment, but that's what happens when you need to cut back on demand. You need to usher in some economic pain across New Zealand. So if you ever look at non-COVID related expenditure in the coming 12 months, is going to be up 13.8% compared to 2022. Now, that is an absolutely eye-watering number, considering the economic environment we are sitting in. And they're saying the 2023, the 2024, 2025 budgets are going to be pretty lean affairs. Well, I hope they are lean affairs, because if they're not, the Reserve Bank's going to be lifting interest rates on the other side. They're overlooking Economics 101. We've got a mismatch here between demand and supply. And the thing in the middle is called inflation. Now, we have to get the bottom line up as the top line comes down. And I know which one is the more economically friendly one for society. So pretty simple message here. That's focus, whether it be government, but businesses need to be doing a lot of heavy lifting here as well. They need to be focusing on being more productive, more dynamic. They can't just point the finger at the government in regard to expecting the government to do all the heavy lifting. We're all in this sort of stuff together.
What does next year look like for small businesses and for Kiwis' back pockets?
To get an inflationary thief back in jail, you do need to have some economic pain. You do need to see firms' margins start to contract. You need to see people stop spending. Asset prices tend to come down on the other side, and we are going through that economic adjustment. But some of this is a bit of, there's an optimistic view here on the other side, because we've got to look back and think about things became fundamentally out of whack for a long time in regard to central banks, using their interest rate levers far too much. And it was a big contributor to income inequality, or in fact, wealth inequality, because it just turbocharged asset prices. There's some basic things that are going to take place going forward. Is that we're going to get reintroduced to Mr. and Mrs. C. Ash. Businesses that actually make real money, as opposed to talking about capital gains and the prospect of exponential growth. Now the rubber tends to hit the road. You're going to see the good businesses are going to do well over the next 2 to 3 years. Why? Because they're just good businesses. Your investors now need to take real risk to make real money.
So there is a case for optimism here. It's not all doom and gloom.
When you go through tougher economic times, ironically, there tends to be a lot more appetite for a bit of change. And what we're doing on a whole lot of areas is we've sort of been kicking the can down the road in areas such as education. Does it look really right that we now spend more on New Zealand superannuation than what we do in terms of operational spend on education? But probably the most important thing that the government could shift their focus to is away from demand stimulus fiscal policy. Things such as subsidising fuel, and let's get into the ins and outs of the New Zealand economy, which is supply side capacity. How do we make the New Zealand economy able to grow faster consistently year after year?
Cameron Bagrie there. New Zealand toy company Zuru has won a court case in the US